and welcome to Money Matters with Shannon Jackson, the personal finance show focused on moving you forward financially. On today's show, we're discussing Financial Planning Canada's 2024 Financial Stress Index. The annual report reveals that for the seventh year in a row, Canadians cite money as their top source of stress. What's different this time around is that the index shows Canadians are feeling more hopeful about their financial futures. They're prioritizing their financial well-being and focusing on strategies to improve their financial wellness. So this is really good news. And joining me to talk about these findings in detail is John Paul Narica, Vice President of MoneyWise Workplaces. John Paul, welcome to Money Matters, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Before we really get into the main part of our discussion, can you talk a little bit about your background and about MoneyWise Workplaces?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. So a little bit about me is I'm a relatively new Canadian, if 15 years counts as new, but I'm a very passionately fix Canada kind of person because I'm happy to make my contribution. And that comes into my story. Joining MoneyWise in 2022 after being in the banking system for RBC and BMO for 12 years and earning my CPA. So after joining MoneyWise, MoneyWise is an organization that focuses on bringing wellness to places that Canadians spend the most time, which is their workplaces. And now we have just added a segment for students, so colleges and students as well. So excited to push this forward, and this financial stress index report couldn't come at a better time.
Well, as you just mentioned, this financial stress index is done every year. And so why is this survey done every year, and what does it tell us about the financial health of Canadians?
So this is actually a great survey. I would like to thank FP Canada for doing this consistently because it gives a pulse on the Canadian households and the Canadian population on what exactly is going on in their pockets, but not just the numbers as StatsCan would take the numbers, how it really connects to their emotional well-being and how much weight they're carrying walking around. And this we find very interesting because it's one of those data points that allow us to talk to policymakers on the fact that it's not just about the numbers. Canadians really have the feeling of progress or lack of progress, the doom, the gloom. As you mentioned, hope is improving. It's a good data point to show that we need policy to address the mental health side effects of financial stress.
I agree with you. It does go deeper than just the numbers, as in going into the reasons behind the financial stress and things like that. So this latest 2024 financial stress index shows that money continues to be the top stressor for about 44% of Canadians, and that has steadily been increasing over the last couple of years. So it was 40% in 2023, 38% in 2022. Now, this really doesn't come as a surprise, I don't think, because we've been facing economic challenges with inflation and rising interest rates and things like that. So John Paul, can you talk a little bit about this increase in the number of Canadians that are feeling this stress over their finances?
Yes, so this we have seen increase, and this is a very steady increase because 2 years ago it was 38%, now it's 44%. And this, when we get to the under 35 group, this is really, really, really high. But it's also not surprising because of the culmination of effects of inflation having had such a big impact in our lives because you could see it on the grocery store. Every time you go shopping, your cart is less and less and less for the same amount of money. So it's really not surprising for the report to come out and say it has been increasing. Now, our concern would be if it keeps on going further, now that the inflation is cooling a little bit, it just would mean the core inflation where it affects the kitchen table is probably not translating into a much better feeling of health for Canadians.
That's an interesting perspective on that. And of course, now one of the concerns about the findings on this report of this year is that the financial related stress continues to impact the emotional and physical well-being of many Canadians. 38% of Canadians say that the financial stress has led to anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges. And about 40% report that they're losing sleep because of their financial worries. And so Are you hearing this same type of feedback from the people that you're talking to about the effects on their mental health?
Oh, absolutely. And so on most of the people we talk about from the MoneyWise perspective are people who have already made the decision to say, okay, I'm going to take a step, which, as you can see in the report, about 91% of people decided they're going to take a step. So that they are able to talk about it from I'm excited for the future point of view. I can tell you more honestly about the past. And yes, you're seeing when we talk to them, they're talking about not just a stress in losing sleep, but also withdrawing from friends, withdrawing from things that they usually would enjoy, which would indicate some mental health challenges that would otherwise not be there, finances, if it wasn't for finances. And it was very shocking that, of course, we have partners that drive us a little bit up a wall from time to time, but that stressor is only 16% compared to financial stress that is 44%. So what we're seeing from clients, at least on the MoneyWise workplace side, the day-to-day grocery store bill, gas bill, and at least June 5th, the interest rates went down a tad. So there is some relief there on mortgage bills, especially people who are on variable rates. But people who are renting, that's another stressor that you see it come through the conversations that we're having. And when it comes to students and on the other side of MoneyWise that we're trying to bring to colleges, the biggest thing we're seeing is they're trying to keep up with friends, is trying to stay social, and spending just the right amount has them very stressed. That could actually be the indication between somebody in a financial stress crisis versus somebody in elevated financial stress. If you cannot keep up with your friends, it almost increases to two-thirds. Two-thirds of people under 35 say keeping up with their friends has elevated their financial stress. So yes, we are seeing that consistently.
Well, let's get into maybe some of the good news that came out of this report this year. So the last index shows that there is a growing sense of optimism from Canadians because they're starting to prioritize their financial well-being. There's a renewed focus on financial self-care. And the index shows that 50% of Canadians are optimistic now about their financial future. Can you speak a little bit about this increase in this optimism that we're feeling?
100%. And I feel like maybe this was supposed to be the start of the show because that's the headline banner. We finally see the light. So a lot of Canadians are seeing the light finally. And it makes sense because for the past two and 3 years, we were not sure what the Bank of Canada is going to do. We were not sure if the inflation was going to cool. And the cycle that we had been in the last 4 years had been inflation is too high, let's raise interest rates. And every time interest rates are raised, there's a cascading effect of rents getting higher and some vendors passing on the rents through their shops, and that affects the wallet eventually. So now that inflation is cooling a little bit, you're seeing 50% of Canadians say they are hopeful. And in addition to that hope, the key number is that 9 out of 10 want to take a step, and they have taken steps, and they have the most popular step that has been taken is actually the toughest one, which is tracking your expenses. I believe 45% of Canadians say they're now tracking their expenses. Now, I could not overemphasize how important this is because 73% of Canadians are stuck with a subscription that they forgot to cancel. Once you start tracking expenses, you can catch those subscriptions, and the hope that allowed you to take your first step now is multiplied a bit. So I would not be surprised if the same report next year says we are getting closer to 60%. As people are doing the right things, they get a little bit more hopeful, and that drag of, I don't want to look at my budget, that starts to ebb and go away. 30% of Canadians are doing budgets. Again, people are taking the steps that we believe to be part of the difficult steps that once you make that choice, you start to see the good side of it. But before you make that choice, it's really a dread that overcomes most Canadians on saying, oh my God, if I look at my 3 months spending, am I going to even like myself? So you're seeing 45% of people track their expenses. That's very exciting. And 38% of people are paying down debt. We know the debt load is one of the biggest stressors, and 38% is a great number. So this is very, very encouraging. We are away from the gloom. We are not quite in rose petal land yet, but we are changing the narrative from it's all bad to I can do something about my financial situation. So this is a great time to start.
I absolutely agree with you. And I hope that you're correct, that we continue to see this uptick in this proactive things that we're doing to track our expenses, have that budget in place. Because as you mentioned before, this survey showed that 91% of Canadians are proactively putting strategies in place to help with their financial stress. That's almost everyone who are now making this a priority. And I don't know that we've ever seen that kind of statistic before. And so everything that you've just said about tracking your expenses, because you're right. Are you going to like yourself at the end of the week after you've written down perhaps all of the things that you spent your money on, and having that budget as well in place to have some kind of a plan to help you to move forward. And then you also mentioned that paying down of debt. Again, another priority that a lot of people are now putting into place. So a lot of this has been really good information. I really appreciate that, John Paul. And it's certainly positive, obviously, that we hear that so many Canadians, including many here in Ontario, are focusing on ways to improve their financial well-being. And another way as well to reduce those money-related stresses and I hope inspire a little bit more optimistic money mindset is working with a professional. And we're going to talk about the benefits of doing just that after the break when Money Matters returns.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Steve.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Welcome back to Money Matters with Shannon Jackson. My guest today is John Paul Nerica, Vice President at MoneyWise Workplaces. And we've been discussing the latest FP Canada Financial Stress Survey. Now, we know many Canadians, including many here at home in Ontario, are feeling financial stress. Inflation and higher interest rates have taken their toll on the financial well-being of many people. But as worried as they are about their financial well-being, there is good news within the survey this year, and that is that more people are focused on ways that they can reduce this stress. And before the break, we talked about some of the strategies that people are focused on at this point. And there's also another way that we want to really talk about, and that is working with a financial professional. So John Paul, can you just speak a little bit about what it means to work with a financial professional?
Yeah, so thank you so much for the question. And I believe that this, as much as we do want to empower ourselves, sometimes we need somebody there to clear some obstacles in a much easier, more systematic manner. And that's where a financial professional comes in. And most people have maybe a misconception of what a financial professional would do for them because they might feel the stress is a little too much. But I guarantee you, at least from what I can tell you, every single thing that we measure on financial stress reduces once you start working with a financial professional. The people who have a loss of sleep because of financial stress end up having much better outcomes. And this is because a financial professional would take your hand, let you know what the next step is. Whenever you fall short, they will encourage you. And whenever you need new strategies, when you're in a place where you don't know what to do next, they will automatically put you in that next part of your program and just push you a little bit forward. So that is a strategy that I believe every Canadian should consider. We already know 30% of Canadians are working with a financial professional. Every Canadian should consider having that guidance so that you don't walk alone on this journey, because things do progress differently at different age groups. what you needed at 25 is not the same at 35, at 45, 55, and 65. And a financial professional will be savvy enough to let you know which stage you had entered and how to maneuver through that successfully.
I like how you described that, because you described a financial planner or a financial professional as someone that helps to clear away the barriers, clear away the roadblocks, perhaps that someone might be facing. So I've never heard somebody explain it like that, and I really like that description. So we know obviously there are clear advantages to working with a professional, but just like you mentioned, only 36% of Canadians actually work with a financial professional, and only 5% work with a financial planner specifically. Can you talk about maybe some of the reasons why people might be reluctant to seek out professional financial advice?
Yeah, so sometimes sometimes the reluctance comes from preconceived notions of maybe a broken trust with the system, or the lack of history in the family. I know as a new Canadian, a lot of new Canadians might feel that the big institutions are for somebody else as opposed to there to serve them. And there might be some hesitance to say, I don't have enough money to work with a financial advisor. And all of those are absolutely misguided, while they are very valid reasons. Because as the financial stress indicator shows, like the emotional part of maneuvering through the financial landscape is very important. So while I validate all those three options, I would say breaking through them is a very interesting part of the process of reducing financial stress for Canadians, because we see the ones who go, even with their hesitation, go and get financial help from a professional, end up having better outcomes. They sleep much better and are less stressed. Those who work with a financial professional have only 36% as money as their top stressor, but those who do not have 48%. So that's a big difference of 10%. So while you might have very legitimately good reasons to say, I am hesitant, I encourage you push through the hesitation and just see someone. And if you don't like what they say, at least from what I've seen from FP Canada, get a second opinion. Sometimes it takes matching with somebody who understands how you speak and your own motivations and values before you find somebody you click with. And once you find somebody you click with, you will get a plan that will get you less stressed, that will get you more hopeful, and will get you less likely to lose sleep over your finances.
And so there was a recent survey done by BDO Canada. It was a debt stigma survey, and that survey revealed sort of some of the reasons why people are reluctant to maybe talk about their financial position. Most commonly heard answers were the fear of judgment, the embarrassment, privacy concerns, fear that people might think that they are asking for money, or that maybe they're burdening others. And you mentioned too that perhaps people feel misguided, or now they've had something happen where they don't trust the financial system anymore, and that can be a struggle as well. So I think there's a number of reasons why people are hesitant. And you mentioned as well that people think that it's a financial planner is for the rich, and obviously
Yes.
that's not the case.
Yes.
I think anyone obviously can visit a financial planner, even if you don't have any investments, savings, property, or real estate, none of that stuff. Because if someone is starting from scratch, would you say that a financial planner is going to help them put those steps in place to meet those goals?
Absolutely. And that's one of the myths that we need to shatter. Most people can walk into a qualified financial planner's office and have at least one meeting and set their own journey to financial wellness. And you don't need to bring all your cash to show that you're worth it. You're worth it just as you are. And this part of withdrawing from that financial system has also created that backlog of people who need to really, really get good advice, that end up turning to talk influencers who speak on finances and other less formal channels that end up, let's just say they're unregulated. They don't end up giving you the advice that gets you where you need to be. While we have proven strategies that show financial planners will take you under their wing, and really guide you away from all those obstacles that you will run into that you might not even know. As part of our wellness content, we always encourage people to get all the way into getting a will and getting a power of attorney, things that those are not what's keeping you up at night, but you will sleep much better after you do it. So getting a professional will really change a lot about how confident you feel, because you have somebody on your team that really does the grounding, that says, we are going to move forward. And if you forget, I will remind you. If you stumble, I will pick you up. And when you start flying, I will cheer you up.
Well, the research clearly shows that there are benefits with working with a financial professional. And the question then becomes, how do you find the right one for you? Because that process means you are going to be having some very personal conversations with someone, and you want to be talking to someone, I think, that you trust. Do you have any advice for our viewers about what to look for in a financial planner that they might want to work with?
Yes, the first part is understanding that it's the process itself is worthwhile to get the right one. So once you understand that it's important to get the right one, you are working. Most Canadians are working extremely hard to make that income. So you should be able to be very comfortable with somebody you choose to be your financial guidance throughout this journey, because this is not a short journey. It might take you from here to your retirement. So it's important that you're comfortable and trusting to the person that you speak to. So I do not suggest that you go with the first person you meet. So this might mean you go and interview one and compare to another, maybe commit to taking 2 or 3 meetings, share your goals and see how they guide you through your goals, and repeat this until you find somebody who gets you. And the important part of that is you will be more open to sharing your goals. As you mentioned, this is a very private issue, and most Canadians find it very difficult to open up around the wallet. And if you can find somebody who you trust after doing 2 or 3 interviews, then you have found your person. The other thing will be to ask a person in the family who's doing well, who has a good advisor with them. They can give you a referral to their own advisor, and you can go and interview that advisor. But just so you know, it's always about you. So if you are uncomfortable for whatever reason, take another meeting, assess another financial planner, and you will eventually get to the person that is for you.
And once you find that right person, they're going to put a plan together for you. What are the benefits of having that financial plan in place?
So there's the financial piece, the other side of the financial stress that we talk about is financial peace. Once you have that plan in place, you have a peace that your household and your family is on the right track. You will sleep better. You will have better outcomes. People who work with a financial professional save more, invest more, and have more wealth. So you will already be on, say, the winning team. The second part is you'll be able to measure exactly how much progress you have done. When you're doing it informally, you might not be measuring exactly where you're going with your financial plan, and you might be floundering, and that might cause even some more financial stress. And thirdly, you will not feel alone. Sometimes when you're insulated and you're doing it by yourself, you feel like every headline is attacking you. Interest rates went up. Oh my God, this is going to crush me. Eggs went up. This is going to crush me. When you're with a financial advisor, you can even ask them about the news of the day and things that are going macroeconomically. And they are trained to give you the truth about exactly what your financial situation is. That way you will not have doubts at the back of your head.
Well, you've given us some amazing information already, John Paul, and I really appreciate all of the things that you've been saying. Do you have any final advice for our viewers?
Yes, thank you so much, Shannon, for having me. Would love to come back and chat some more. Make sure you take care of yourself, continue the financial self. That would include getting help from a professional, taking care of your own finances. Tracking has been a big thing for this year. So join the tracking crew, track your expenses. You will feel better for it.
Absolutely. Totally agree. If anyone wants to reach out to you, follow you on social media, find your websites, how can they do that?
So we have moneywise.com, but we have also Kelly Keane is a 12-time author, and she is the founder of MoneyWise. You can reach out to us on the website. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. I personally am available probably as part of your show notes. You can go down wherever you're watching this. Yes, moneywise.com.
John Paul, thank you so much for being here and sharing your advice with our viewers. And I also want to thank you, our viewers, for watching. Until next time, I'm Shannon Jackson.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Para hockey, the ice tilts in favor of men. But that will never stop us.
United by passion, battling for equity.